of resolutions and legislation that would cite him and hold him personally responsible. But the full force of congressional anger has yet to be brought onto this matter, and certainly their efforts to try to get more information from the Trump administration continue.
The US Energy Secretary has authorized several companies to sell nuclear power technology to Saudi Arabia. That's according to the Reuters news agency, which says the companies have requested the deals be kept secret. The kingdom is planning to build 2 nuclear plants, and Russia, South Korea, and the US are all competing to strike a deal. But there are concerns it could fuel a nuclear arms race in the Middle East. Will Satran is a nuclear security specialist, and he says that Saudi Arabia cannot be trusted with any type of nuclear technology.
There's a pretty big difference between the Iran nuclear deal and the Trump administration's attempts to sell nuclear technology to the Saudi Arabians. The nuclear technology that we want to sell to Saudi Arabia is civilian. It's for their civilian energy program, which is a big difference than what we suspected that Iran was trying to do. So the concern now is that Saudi Arabia might go down the same path, that they might use this technology that they would be acquiring for their civilian nuclear energy program for development of a weapons program down the line. About a year ago, Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, went on national television. He told reporters that if Iran were to develop a nuclear weapon, that Saudi Arabia would also develop a nuclear weapon. Full stop. No ambiguity there whatsoever. The problem is, now that the United States has decided that it wants to withdraw from the JCPOA, the nuclear deal that we had with Iran, preventing them from developing a nuclear weapon, that has become a more likely scenario. Going back to that discussion that was happening in the United States Congress a month ago, Brad Sherman made the point, Congressman Brad Sherman made the point that if we can't trust Mohammed bin Salman with a bone saw, how can we trust him with nuclear technology? Now, that's a completely fair point, and it's a valid concern. Even if we can get to this type of 1, 2, 3 agreement that guarantees that Saudi Arabia won't develop a nuclear weapon, can we really rely on them to keep their word?
An Egyptian delegation is in Gaza for discussions with Hamas and other Palestinian groups on the recent violence between Hamas and Israel. Israeli jets destroyed a number of buildings on Monday and Tuesday night. Hamas's political leader, Ismail Haniyeh, has made his first public appearance in Gaza since his office was bombed. Dozens of rockets were fired into Israel. The Egyptian delegation is expected to go to Israel for further discussions on a possible ceasefire. The US Federal Aviation Administration says it is absolutely confident the Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft is safe following 2 recent crashes which killed 346 people. The FAA's acting administrator spoke at a congressional hearing looking into how the aircraft was approved for operation. Boeing says it doesn't see a need to overhaul the way it develops airplanes. Scientists and healthcare professionals have written a letter to the United Nations calling for an international ban on so-called killer robots. Although they don't yet exist, campaigners say they're only a year or 2 away. 28 countries have signed up so far, but the US and Russia are among those resisting. Our science and technology editor, Mariana Hond, has more.
Mention killer robots and many of us think of this, a machine able to think, feel and kill. We have no way of knowing whether the kind of artificial general intelligence needed to create a sentient robot like this will ever be possible. But here's what we already have. Semi-autonomous machines, drones, tanks, aircraft, robots big and small, machines that can be weaponized, even programmed to find targets. But the final decision of whether to take a life lies with us. So-called killer robots, fully autonomous weapons that can select and kill without human intervention, well, they don't exist yet.
We don't want to see killing outsourced to machines on the battlefield or in policing or in border control and other circumstances. This is why we call for a preemptive ban on the development, production and use of killer robots as soon as possible.
We already have facial recognition technology to unlock our phones. That could be used by a fully autonomous weapon, a drone say, to identify and then attack a target without a human having the final say. But what if it kills the wrong person, or the machine malfunctions and continues to hunt and kill long after a conflict has been resolved? Whose responsibility is it when a fully autonomous weapon gets it wrong?
So everybody's got their experience with computers not working, with phones and iPads failing, and that's an inconvenience at best. Imagine that when you have the weapon system, which is failing to turn off. Killer robots could be hacked and then used by your enemy forces against you and against your population, and that they could be programmed to target a certain part of the population, to go out there and to seek all military-age males, and determine them to be legitimate targets and fire upon them.
61% of people polled in 26 countries last year oppose fully autonomous weapons. 28 countries have signed up to a ban. Tech companies, scientists, researchers and engineers in their thousands have over the years pledged not to knowingly create killer robots. But plenty of others are embracing artificial intelligence in warfare. And states like Israel, Russia, South Korea and the United States are among those resisting the ban. Countries may agree we're all better